going to do some tagging of yarn. This way I get to show you some of our new yarns. And yeah, we're going to go live. So if you guys have any questions at all, I'm going to do my best to try and answer them here. Sorry, just getting set up. Make sure I can see the chat. There we go. So this one here, it's one of our semisolids. This is the charcoal. It's nice to see you too. Try and keep this stuff out of the way. How's it going? So we got lots of semisolids to get through today. I know they're not always as exciting, but definitely some beautiful colors. Charcoal is probably one of our bigger sellers. It basically matches up with absolutely everything. So a scarf, that sounds beautiful. Which colors did you get? You know, the lighting's not amazing. We got a bit of a cloudy day here, but hopefully all this is going to come through really nice. Thank you so much. Sally, yes, that's an absolutely beautiful colorway. Lots and lots of colors. Sally's actually been around for, it's probably almost a year and a half now. We've been running Sally's Skellington. That's a beautiful colorway. I love that one. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get too much into the political stuff here today. There's a lot of heat on both sides of the border. You know, everybody's a little charged, so we're going to try and keep it friendly here. Tariff sucks. It doesn't matter if it's Canada implementing tariffs or if it's the US. I'm not happy with either one. So hopefully they can negotiate a deal. We've got a new PM in office, and he seems to know what he's doing. So hopefully he can pull together a deal, and we can just avoid the whole tariff situation completely. Yeah, lots of dyeing videos. It's probably been a good year since I did any of the long form videos. It's been a long time. I used to do them all the time. I really enjoyed doing the long form. And that's actually why I went live today. I want to get back into the videos, and I figured this was a nice, easy step for me to get back onto the YouTube and really start bringing you some more of that content. All right, give me 2 seconds. I'm going to put this charcoal away. Got lots of yarn here. Currently we have space for just over, I think it's just over 180 colorways on the shelf, but yeah, I think we got about 20, 25 or 30 semi-solids right now. All right, so this one here, got the same charcoal. This is on our worsted base. The mystery box. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Um, okay, so I can give an explanation when it comes to the clubs. Uh, Basically, what was happening is we're a Canadian company. Everybody knows that we're a Canadian company. But the majority of our sales have always gone to the US. So when the tariff threat started coming into place, it was time for us to basically make a decision. It takes several weeks to take and pull a club together, right? So um, the last thing I want is an automatic subscription coming through, people getting hit with tariffs. We don't know if tariffs are going to be implemented tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. We don't know how long they're going to last. Sometimes they're put into effect and then pulled back out 8 hours later. It's just there's so much unknown in the world. It's really, really hard for us to organize a club when 80% of that is going down to the States, right? I don't want anybody to be upset when they get hit with a 25% tariff on the other side. Now, with that being said, even if tariffs come into place, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to get hit with tariffs. We're currently shipping with Canada Post, USPS. And from what I understand, USPS isn't set up to do the tariffs yet. They can't collect on the other side. So President Trump decided to keep the de minimis in place, which is basically any order under $800 is exempt from duties, taxes, and tariffs and things of the sort. So my hope is that it takes USPS a really, really long time, and we can just keep plugging away like we always have. But until I have some firm answers, I can't wrap my mind around trying to pull a club together, not knowing what's going to happen next week. So that's a bit of an explanation there. And again, I'm really sorry. It's not anything I wanted to do in any way, shape, or form. But when the majority of our yarn is going down to the States, that's just a decision we had to make. Yeah, no problems. I definitely don't mind caking up the yarn. We're not doing a ton of caking right now. We're a little short staffed. We've got a couple guys that are missing. They're on sick leave, so we're a little bit behind in the labor portion of things. But we'll cake the yarn if we can. Do we bring back discontinued yarn? Yes, we do. Absolutely. So if you're on the website, if you click on the menu, you can actually go to our retired colorways. A lot of the colorways that are in there, you can go in and you can click on. I think it's notifying me when it's back in stock, and basically we use that program to figure out what to bring back and when. If it's not in that list, just email me real quick, and I'll do my best to see if we can't at least put it on that list or bring it back. Texas, let's go on. Peru. Oh, look at that. That's awesome. Um, Wookie Wook, just send me an email and we'll definitely discuss details and we'll see what we can't pull together for you. So just send me an email and I'll get to it as soon as I can. All right, I got to get this started here. There we go. More charcoal. We got to get into some fun colors here. So start pushing through. There's a couple of you from Peru. That's awesome. No, try and keep those out of the way. Not used to having the camera on me while I'm doing this, so. Yeah, charcoal, it goes with everything. Like really, it's nice because it's not super black, right? If you've got yarn that's really, really black, it's hard to work with. So having just a super dark gray is it's kind of nice, and it goes with basically absolutely everything. I love charcoal. It's one of the most versatile yarns that I have, I think. Yeah, Wookie, absolutely, it would definitely help. Every little bit helps. The biggest concern is tariffs, right? So if we start talking about larger orders, then there's a chance that we could get hit with that 25% tariff. So we're trying to keep everything on the small side of things, under that $800 until we know whether or not we get to continue with the exemption under. Uh, it was NAFTA, now it's the USMCA off the top of my head. Best way to wash our yarn. Good question. So basically, what I highly suggest is using, at the very hottest, a room temperature water. You don't want anything warm or anything like that. And give it a good splash of vinegar when you give it a rinse. The vinegar itself adds a little bit of acid and will help to make sure that none of the yarn bleeds. Not that I expect it to, but it's always nice to have, a little bit extra in there to make sure that you keep everything as in place as it's supposed to be. So yeah, I think I got one more little batch of charcoal here to put together, and then we'll get into some of the other colors. Nope, just regular vinegar. Like I wouldn't necessarily look at pickling vinegar or anything like that, but yeah, just your basic run of the mill $3.50 from Walmart. I guess maybe it is distilled vinegar. Yeah, absolutely, white vinegar. Myself personally, I don't actually use vinegar here in the shop. I used to a long time ago, but we started doing much larger quantities, as you can see behind me. Um, and so it was a lot easier for us to keep citric acid on hand rather than the vinegar itself. So we actually run dry crystal, and then we mix it into the water that way. But for you, definitely look at white vinegar. That's the best bet. All right, I'm going to put this charcoal away real quick. There are some wool washes and stuff like that might be um, pretty gentle on the yarn itself, but I've always been particular to vinegar. That's all. There is no right or wrong way. That's just my way. All right, you know what? Let's get into some wine time. Beautiful colorway. Just a really rich burgundy color. Like I said, lots of semi-solids we're putting away together today. This here is the wine time. This one is in our DK weights. So wine time's another one of the more popular colorways for the semi-solids. Basically pairs up really nice with anything that's got a bit of a red or a purple or a pink to it. It's a beautiful color. I think the other one of my favorites would be Midnight. Cloudy, cloudy and cold. I think today we are looking at a high of 9. That's 9 Celsius. Give me a sec. I can tell you what that is in US Fahrenheit. 48. So 48 Fahrenheit. It's a little chilly, but in all honesty, it's not too bad. Um, it's spring. It's kind of what you expect. It's funny. We always talk about what sells good, what doesn't sell good, and it seems like some of my personal favorites are never really big sellers. You really, when you're in this industry, when you're in this job, you have to get outside of your own box. You really do. There's a lot of beautiful colors. Not all of them are my favorites, but usually the ones I don't like at all are the ones that sell the most, and it's the ones you guys absolutely love. So I don't know. It's one of those things. There's actually over the last 12-ish months, I would say our whole semi-solid line has really taken off. Um, I, I don't know why, but it's awesome. We're trying to come out with some new semi-solids as well. We're going to try and just rotate those in and out, just like we do the variegated yarns, and come up with something new. Last week we actually just released two brand new semi-solids. I'm going to go grab them real quick while I'm putting these away. I think I've got some of these in the box here, but these are the two new ones. So this one here is Antique Rose. Let's see if we can keep that in the sunlight here. So it's just a super light pinkish purple, a little bit of variation in it. It's a great looking colorway, it really is. And then we've got Neptune's Wake, which kind of leans into I would say more of a teal or a turquoise. It's got a little bit of a blue-green tinge to it. So those are the two we released last week. Sorry, let me get back into these comments here. Do we have some heat? Yes. So basically, what we're cooking in is restaurant warmers. Basically, individual little warmers. We've got full-size pans in there. They're able to hold between 4 and 5 skeins on average. Depends on which colorway you're doing, how saturated you want it, things of the sort. And basically, that's what we cook in. So an entire batch from start to finish. Usually, by the time we put the dye on it, it starts raising temperature. We flip it after about 15 minutes after the dye is done being poured on, and then we'll dye the other side, and then we let it cook for another 15 or 20 minutes, depending on the color. If it's red, you got to cook it longer, right? So I would say in total, we're probably give or take 45 minutes to an hour for each batch of 20 skeins in the restaurant cookers. Stand tall, yes. Flamingos, it was very pink, yes. Uh, for a fade, hey? I generally lean into the longing for lilac, um, especially when you're looking at any of the pinks. But I don't think there's anything that's really going to match standing tall. So if I'm being honest, I don't even know if I can find that colorway. It's not on the website. So just going off the top of my head, I might lean into like a dark gray maybe as a contrast, or push into the wine time as a burgundy. Those two colors would go quite nicely as well. So that would be the direction I would go. I've always found that if you can't match a color, it's best to contrast the color. So, um, and if you're not looking at semisolids, little moments in time would probably be the one I would look at as well. Do I work all day? No, no, I don't. I used to once upon a time. Fortunately, my family let me work. Basically, I was working two jobs at one point in time. So I'd wake up first thing in the morning, probably about 5, 6 a.m., start doing some dye, some yarn, and then I would go work for 8 or 9 hours at my day job, and then I would come back home and I'd work till 10, 11 o'clock at night. Fortunately, we were able to expand a little bit. I got some employees. We're now there's 5 of us, me plus 4 others. So we work Monday through Friday, 8 till 5, and in my spare time, I am with my family. That's my whole life. So I'm with my 2 kids and my wife. I have a 8-year-old son, a 4-year-old daughter, and my beautiful wife, who basically allowed me to get where I am today. So um, yeah, I hang out with my family any chance I get. That is my fun. Uh, Finish with silicone. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I understand. I'm not sure I understand that question. I'm sorry. I've never heard of using silicone to finish yarn after dyeing. No, basically we dye the yarn. We use citric acid to have the yarn adhere to the animal proteins, not the yarn, the dye adhere to the animal proteins, and then we cook it off. After that's done, it's basically rinse it off real quick and let it go. There's no additional processing in any way, shape, or form. All right, back to the yarns. Put those off to the side here. Get a little bit more charcoal. This one here is charcoal in DK. Like I said, we did a lot of semisolids yesterday. So, not yesterday, 2 days ago. It usually takes about 2 days to dry the yarn, 24 to 48, depending on the day. Thank you. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a little bit of theme when it comes to my naming. I don't know why, and I don't know the technical term for it, but I like names that are they're either puns of something or it's a couple words that go really really well together. And I know there's a name for it, but like watermelon crawl, that's another name out there. But basically, if it starts with a C, the second word will start with a C. I don't know. It's just it feels right. So lots of effort into the naming. Are I don't know if people actually use a softener. I don't. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think you need a softener when you're working with our yarn. It is pretty soft already. If you've never handled it, worked with it in any way, shape, or form, that is probably the number one comment I get about yarn is that it's incredibly soft. So probably usually the comment is softest they've ever worked with. I don't think you need conditioner or anything like that. Alliteration, that might be it. I don't know. I'm not big on the words. Definitely quirky, definitely nerdy. That's me. Absolutely, hands down, without a doubt. Easy breezy, beautiful cover squirrel. Yes, and I might be aging myself with that one. Um, Actually, fun fact, that wasn't my name. at all. I didn't name that yarn. Actually, I was against naming that yarn. Um, so one of the guys that's been working with me forever, he actually worked with me at my old job. We've been working together for almost 20 years, 3 years here at Arcane. But basically, he is my right hand, right? So if I'm not in the dye pots, he's in the dye pots. He's really good at what he does. We work together really, really well. Anyways, he basically said I had a squirrel yarn, and he's like, you need to call it Easy Breezy Beautiful Cover Squirrel, and I'm like, it's too long. Like it doesn't even fit on the tag. Look at this tag. It's that big. There's no way. I'm not naming it that. And he was like, come on, do it. So finally, after he argued with me a bunch, I was like, okay, fine. You know what? I'll name it that for you because I'm tired of arguing with you. Well, it turns out it's probably one of our biggest sellers, and generally the comment I get is that is the greatest name for a yarn I've ever seen, and I agree. It's pretty funny. Um, but yeah, I vetoed that one, and it's still probably one of my best sellers. So good on him. All right, what do we got here? Antique Rose in fingering weight. Fingering weight's probably one of my favorites to dye. It really is. Not necessarily to work with. I find this is a little bit too thin for me, but um, in the dye pots, fingering weight, absolute favorite. Yeah, I haven't discovered a better way to put tags on, if I'm being honest. The elastic bands seem to be the best option. Ooh, cherry blossoms. I really do like cherry blossoms. I've had quite a few cherry blossom colorways. I'm going to keep that in mind. I don't know how much time we have here. Did you say International Cherry Blossom Festival? But yeah, I've done quite a few cherry blossom colorways. I will definitely, I'm sure, come up with another one. Absolutely. Yeah, right. Fingering weight is scary. I agree. It's way too thin. I am also, if I'm going to take and grab a hook or a needle, I would lean towards crochet. So for me, fingering weight is pretty scary. I'm much more partial to the worsted weight. That would be my go-to. Um, Not always socks, but yes, a lot of the time it is socks. I have seen some absolutely amazing knitters take fingering weight and turn it into sweaters, blankets. Um, they're crazy. They absolutely are. I cannot even wrap my mind behind how many stitches go into a fingering weight sweater. Um, but yeah, absolutely. Socks usually. Fun fact, I don't know if you guys know this. I've been telling people this quite a bit lately. If you take a fingering weight and you hold it double, it's actually the same thickness as our DK weight. If you have fingering weight and you hold it triple, it's actually the same thickness as our worsted weight. If you take our DK weight and you hold that double, it's the same as our chunky weight. So one of the cool things you can do with that is you can actually take two colorways, hold it double, and all of a sudden you completely change the texture and the colors and everything else. You can kind of mix and match and put that stuff together. So um, check out some YouTube videos. I don't have any personally, but I have seen some absolutely amazing stuff with people holding double, triple, things of the sort. So Peace Roses. I will check those out. I don't know what those are off the top of my head. but they sound pretty. Any kind of flower is pretty. It really is. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Even shawls with fingering weight. That's insane. That's way too many stitches. I can't even wrap my head around that. I've seen people do it with 2 or 3 skeins. That it's mind-boggling. I For me, I tend to look at maybe a baby blanket in worsted if I'm going to pick up a project. Um, Anything bigger than that, and I it's not that I lose interest. I just I struggle to stay motivated. Um, which weight sells best? Fingering weight. So I could tell you that we sell about 36 to 40% of all of our sales are in fingering weight. 26 to 30%, depending on the season, will be DK weight and worsted weight. And then about 8% of our sales would be chunky weights. So, hands down, fingering weight sells best for us. But to be honest, fingering, DK, and worsted are all very, very close. I would say they're about the same. All right. Another one of my favorite semisolids is Midnight. Absolutely gorgeous dark blue. Look at that. I love it. This one here is the DK weight. Yeah, unfortunately, we made the decision that we were going to pull the chunky weight for spring and summer. It's not a big seller during the spring and summer. I'm assuming it's really hot to work with, right? It's really, really nice and thick. It is incredibly soft, though. So um, I got this one here. This is the chunky weight. We'll keep it in the light there. This is the chunky weight in Hocus Pocus. I find the chunky weight takes color really, really, really well. So it is absolutely vibrant, very stunning. It's an amazing wool to work with. It's not a big seller during the summertime, and we're kind of at capacity. So we made the decision we're going to take and pull the chunky weight for the next couple months, and then we're going to revisit in the fall. Um, Sport weight. Did I see something about sport weight? I don't have a sport weight. I have worked with sport weight in the past. Keep those out of your way there. I have worked with a sport weight in the past. I think off the top of my head, sport weight is the tiniest bit thinner than our DK weight. Um, I don't know the exact measurements off the top of my head, but I don't have. Tuck those ends in. Absolutely, tuck those ends in. Make it pretty. Um, Look at these ends. Tuck them in. Should be giving myself trouble for that. Absolutely. Make them pretty. That's for sure. Um, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Back to the sport weight. I don't have any sport weight. I have worked with it in the past. I made the decision to move over to DK weights. I just found it more versatile in my environment. That's all. No right or wrong answer. If you're a dyer, if you want to run sport weight, run sport weight. There's nothing wrong with that. They can stick out the other side. I find actually I've never really shown. So if you got one of the ties that's sticking out, just grab it and just kind of run it up rather than poking it all the way through with your finger. Just kind of start running it up the skein itself, right? And you can work into that. You can work into that crease without pushing it all away. And you just kind of continue working it. Give those ties a little bit of a pull, tuck them in, and then yeah, there you go. Nice and pretty. So don't just shove them through, work them up. Thank you so much. I really do want to get back into those videos. I will. I will get back into those videos. This is my start. So we're doing a live. We're gonna do a couple more of these, and then yeah, I'm hoping to get back into the videos. There's a lot of editing that come with those videos. I know it doesn't seem like it, but behind the scenes, it's a little crazy, and yeah, I don't know. I just kind of it's been about a year since I've done the long form videos, and I don't want to say I burnt out, but I lost the motivation. I lost the motivation to do those longer videos. Am I coming out with a custom colorway for Canada? Um, I don't know. That's a tough question. I love nature, all nature, whether it's Canadian, US, Australian, European, New Zealand, you name it, anywhere around the world, Japan, China. If there is something beautiful in the world, I will definitely make a colorway after it. Am I going to specifically make something inspired by Canada? I would say I already have. I have Heart of the Rockies sitting right over there. But if we're talking about the Canadian flag, red and white, probably not. I like nature. So that's the direction I'm going to go. Yes, I'm going to do a couple more lives. I enjoy being here with you guys in front of the camera. That is something I actually enjoy. Um, but making the long form videos where I was basically dyeing the yarn, talking about how I was putting the dye on the yarn, twisting it, um, swatching it, all that stuff. As much as I enjoyed those videos, I just found that I was getting a little burnt out from it. That's all. We did quite a few in the past. It's been probably a year since I've done them, and I did enjoy making them. I'd like to try doing them again. Sparkle base. I've done a sparkle base once upon a time. So the biggest issue is the mill I work with. I don't work with a middleman anymore. I spent about a year and a half finding a mill to work with directly. They don't offer a sparkle base, and they actually created our bases for us. There's no arcane yarn out there anywhere else that feels like this. Um, Basically, yeah, it's I'm not sure I'll go back to a sparkle base. So the only sparkle base I know of was like a 80 was an 80-10-5 lanolin or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's not as soft as our yarn. Um, so will I work into a sparkle base? No, I don't think I will. Um, this is my base, and I don't think I'm going to move away from that in any way, shape, or form. It's kind of it, I'd like to think that's what I'm known for is not necessarily the colors, but the yarn itself. Red bleeds. Yes, red bleeds really, really bad. Red and whites, I see it being red into pink, maybe a little bit of whites back into red. Um, I don't think I could do a Canadian flag, and if I could, I don't think I could do it justice. That's one thing I would say out to anybody who's wanting to be a dyer. Um, you gotta you gotta know your strengths, right? And sometimes it's okay to not be able to do everything. Um, I'd love to be able to do a Canadian flag, but I don't see it. I don't see it as being something that I would do well. Yeah, editing videos is quite exhausting. Um, Watching yourself on video is hard to do too. I don't know if anybody's really done that, but my goodness, watching yourself, hearing your own voice, it's weird and it's really hard to get over. Um, yeah, custom colorway for each province. Now that's something I could probably do. Um, yeah, I will take that in mind. Absolutely. That would probably work for me. Do I think about the colorways first and then find the photos? I did at one point. I find it a lot easier to find the photo first and then dye the yarn accordingly. Um, that's the easiest method for me. I can adjust my dyes. I'm not very good at photo editing, so it's a lot easier for me to adjust my dyes to match the photo. Now that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you find a photo and you dye the yarn and you take it out of the pots because this stuff wet versus this stuff dry will actually change. Your colors will come through a little bit differently. Sometimes they're a little bit more faded. Sometimes you'll have a red that actually goes pink on you, and things of the sort. So sometimes I do have to go find a photo after I've created a colorway that was based on another photo, but usually it's pretty easy. Like if I'm looking at, a waterfall or something like that, to find another photo of a waterfall that better matches my colors. But it is easier to find the photo first. So I'm so happy you're dyeing yarn. That's awesome. Yes. I'm sorry. The midnight is definitely one of my favorites as well. I love that. I love that color. Not trying to entice you, but we have taken submissions over the past, for photos. Again, it depends on the photo. So one of the biggest things that and I've mentioned to people in the past, is what you think is a great photo is absolutely an amazing photo, but usually there's some emotion attached to that photo. It's a family vacation. It's a photograph of an animal, of a lost loved one, something along those lines. And I can't do emotion justice. I can't. There's nothing I could dye that would even compare to that photo. So although I do take submissions sometimes, it's it's just tough to put emotion into yarn and to do it justice. That's the easiest way for me to put it. So, will I take submissions? Yes, send them to me. Send them to my email address. I will definitely put them on the list and see if I can't do something with them. But if it's not something that I think I can do justice, I'm just gonna have to move on. Have I ever been to South America? No, actually, I haven't. Jungles, absolutely. Beautiful sources of inspiration. I I haven't really been anywhere, to be honest. Yeah, I'm just not a big traveler. Maybe that's why I like nature so much in the photos that I work with. It's my escape. Allows me to travel the world from my desktop. I don't do custom colorways. No, generally not. So creating a new colorway will take hours, just to come up with the colors themselves. You have to do a batch of 20 in order to be able to just put up a single batch and make sure the recipe works, make sure it matches up with the photo. Um, I don't I don't think that we will be doing custom colorways anytime soon. I'm sorry. A destination series, absolutely. Advent calendar. I don't think I can do an advent calendar if I'm being honest. A lot of the advent calendars I've seen have been a whole bunch of mini skeins, and then they'll have one or two of the full size skeins. I don't have mini skeins. All I have is the 100-gram skeins. So for me, in order to do an advent calendar, I think it's not very cost effective. It's not something I'm good at. Um, so yeah, no, I don't think I'll be doing an advent calendar anytime soon. I'm sorry. Uh, a true silver? Yes. Sorry. No, I don't have a true silver. Yes, I would consider that to be a hard one to be done. I have what I consider a dark gray, which would be as close to a silver as I have. I had a mouse gray at one point. Unfortunately, I found that it was becoming quite splotchy. So we ended up pulling the mouse gray, but I'll grab the dark gray right now while I'm putting these away. So this would be our dark gray and what I would consider as close to the silver as I could get. It's very, very consistent, the dark gray. I would say this is not necessarily a silver. I would say this is probably more of like a gunmetal, if that makes any sense. How did I become a dyer? Now, isn't that a question? Once upon a time, I was actually a drop shipper. I don't know if you know what a drop shipper is, but basically it's somebody who has an audience, and they'll reach out to different companies and say, "Hey, listen, I've got an audience that I think would be interested in your product. Would you consider allowing me to sell that product on commission?" Basically, the customer remains your customer. I will just sell product to them. You ship it to them. My hands are tied, and then you can cut me a percentage after the fact. And basically, I had a few companies that I was working with, but I reached out to an indie dyer. I saw some of her stuff on Etsy, and so I reached out to her and said, "Hey, listen, I think I've got an audience for your product. Would you consider allowing me to sell it?" And she said, "Yeah, sure. You know, we'll cut you a small commission." And I said, "Great, sounds good." So after about a month, it turned out I was pretty good at selling yarn. Um, which was kind of cool. So basically, after about a month, she started getting quite busy, and she reached out to me and said, "Hey, listen, I'm getting a lot more business. Would you consider doing marketing for me full time?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't really enjoy drop shipping, so absolutely, I would love to be, you know, in your social media, and I'll do your marketing for you." And we discussed a wage. She was actually living out in Eastern Canada, and I'm out in Western Canada, so you know, a few thousand kilometers away, big difference. But yeah, basically, so we started up that, and after about another month, she was so busy that she reached out and said, "Hey, listen, I can't keep up. Would you maybe consider dyeing yarn?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. I'm always up for trying new things, so let's do it." So she sent me out a bunch of yarn and some dye, and she said, "Hey, I'll teach you how to dye yarn." And I basically asked her. I said, "Okay, so do you want me to dye yarn your way, or do you want me to be an addition, somebody else? Because if you want me to dye differently than you, the best thing that I can do is learn to dye yarn not from you." basically we can be two separate individuals, because if you teach me how to dye yarn, I'm going to dye yarn exactly like you dye yarn. And she was like, no, that makes sense. So basically I hopped onto YouTube and I started doing some research and learned how to dye yarn from YouTube. That's also why I started up this channel on YouTube, because that's where I learned, and I figured it would be nice to kind of give back and show people how to dye yarn as well. So um, yeah, and then after about a year, we had some differences of opinion, and we decided that it was time for us to split ways. So she's out east, she's still doing her thing. I'm out west, I'm doing my thing. Um, and yeah, that's where Arcane came from. I'm not going to go into details, but um, yeah, here we are. This one here is called Juniper. So it's kind of a really, really dark, smoky green. And I absolutely love pairing this one up with any of our greens, really. It goes so well with it. Contrast, whether it's forest green or juniper, you really can't go wrong with this one. So juniper's a good colorway. Uh, I never really knit or crocheted before dyeing yarn. No. Um, with that being said, my granny, my grandmother, she taught me how to crochet when I was really, really little. I was probably 3 or 4 years old. Um, I didn't do a lot of it, but she taught me how to crochet. Um, and I'm still not good at it. I'm probably still at like the 3-year-old level. I can do just your basic crochet, and I tend to make baby blankets if I'm going to make anything. But the hobby started and ended in the dye pots. That's my passion. Creating new colorways is what this is all about. So yeah, for me, this is the art. Um, and I know it's weird. Not a lot of dyers get into this not knowing how to knit or crochet, but yeah, that's my thing. Um, Juniper with midnight, absolutely. Yeah, that would be beautiful. Even dark gray. I'm gonna go grab one. Those three would go quite well together. Absolutely. My biggest concern would be if you had the juniper with the midnight. There's a chance that they'll get lost into each other. They're both quite dark, but if you throw the dark gray there in the middle, I think it would pull it together quite nicely. Absolutely. Looks like we're just about done the semisolids. Getting close. Like I said, we had lots of semisolids this week, so it's nice to see you too. Um, there's lots and lots of bestsellers. Um, I'm if I'm going to be honest, this is probably one of our top sellers of all time. This one's called, and of course, it's going to skip my head here. She sells seashells. Have to slow down on that one. This one's been around for a couple of years. Unfortunately, the pink dye that we use in here is just about gone. And when it's gone, this colorway goes with it. So I've probably got another month, maybe if I'm lucky of this one. I'm going to be sad to see it go, but this is probably one of the top 5. Seems like we dye that one almost every day. The favorite yarn, if we're talking about a base, my favorite base to work with in the dye pots itself would be the fingering weight. But if it's my favorite to work with outside of the dye pots, I would say it's the worsted weight. So it's a little bit heavier. That would be my go-to, is the worsted weight. Um, we did kits for a while. I struggled with the inventory management of the kits. Um, part of being a business owner and the website admin is basically trying to make sure that everything works in the background. It was really tough for us to put together kits and have the inventory pulled from different locations, and it was absolutely chaotic. Nothing ever seemed to work. We were always out of stock. The computer was allowing us to sell kits that we didn't have, and it just became a bit of a nightmare in the background. So we ended up pulling the kits. Oh, it's probably been about 2 years since I've done a kit. That doesn't mean I can't go try again, but yeah, see what we can do. Absolutely. Roses, absolutely. I think I've said this before, and I'll say it again. There is not a flower on this planet that isn't absolutely beautiful in its own right. So um, I do lots of colorways about flowers. I'm going to give some of those a check for you. Absolutely. I think this is almost the second last semi-solid. This one here is called Electric Blue. Nice bright blue. Pairs up really nice with that midnight. Absolutely beautiful. Dark gray, by the way. See, these two here, they really go with just about anything. Those darker semi-solids are so versatile, it isn't funny. If you don't have some charcoal and some midnight on hand, I would highly suggest it. Forest green, juniper, they will go with pretty much everything. They're great semi-solids to have. I think I got one more semi-solid after this, and we can get into some of the variegated. So close. A gold. I don't have anything that's really all that gold, unfortunately. I do have a golden yellow. I'll show you that one next. But I wouldn't consider it a gold. It's pushing more towards a an orange if I was going to categorize it. I'll do that one next here. Oh, I lied. I got dark gray in there too. Another bright one. So this would be that golden yellow. Just a really bright, bright orange. Beautiful color. Matches up with all of those yellows and reds, like Phoenix and Burning Desire. Yeah, anything with fire, I would look at this one for sure. Marigolds, absolutely. Yep, definitely. Yeah, without a doubt. There's a couple of comments in there. Marigolds, marigolds. Yes, marigolds, hands down. Absolutely. Uh, where there is love. That is a good question. I don't remember that colorway. I'm so sorry. Um, Fun fact, I've done probably in the last 5 years, I did 2 years with another company and 3 years on my own, 3.5 now. I've done probably close to 500 to 700 different colorways. I've only got about 500 of them on recipe. So um, I am so sorry. I don't remember where there is love. Sounds like something I would say. It's definitely a colorway of mine, I'm sure, but I don't remember what that one looks like. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I don't think that's one I have in stock. That's got to be an older one. All right. I think this is the last semi-solid. Dark gray. Which, by the way, grays and pinks always go together. There is nothing better than a pink and a gray. So, she sells seashells, dark gray. Beautiful combo. Yeah, I'm hoping we're starting to get a little caught up here. I'm hoping to release some new colorways next week. Like I said earlier, we released a couple semi-solids last week. So yeah, beginning of next week, I'm hoping to release a couple new variegated yarns. Stone washed colorways. I'm gonna Google that real quick. Give me a sec here. Oh, those are pretty. Like jeans. That would make sense. Um, oh, I don't know. Well, we could probably come up with something that looks a little stonewashed. Variegated yarns already push towards that kind of patterning, depending on how they're dyed. So I don't see it's being too far out of the hand dyed yarn realm to have something that looks stonewashed. Yeah. It's not scaring me, so it's probably something that can be done. You know, my gut's not telling me to run away yet, so might be worth a try for sure. All right. You guys have already seen this, but we got a whole lot of it dyed up. So this one here is the she sells seashells. You got that pink, and you got that just the tiniest little hint of gray in here, moving over into the whites. Beautiful colorway. If I was going to pair this one up with something, it would be that dark gray. And let's see, a dark gray, probably longing for lilac, maybe the new antique rose. And we're going to grab a charcoal, because charcoal goes with everything. That's what would make sense to me if I was looking at semisolids. Just again, charcoal. It's got quite a bit of contrast to it, but it would definitely be something I would grab for sure. Antique rose kind of pushes more towards the purple side of things. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a perfect match. So I would probably go with the longing for lilac. Yeah, that would be the direction I would go. Those two are quite pretty together. Antique rose might be nice if you threw in the dark gray in there. Those three would come together quite nicely, but I'd still probably lean towards that longing for lilac. That would be my go-to. Absolutely. Now that is the DK weight. I also did a bunch in fingering and worsted. It was quite the she sells seashells kind of day. North Carolina, thank you so much. It's nice to see you. And I try and keep these out of the way. Getting close, towards the end. Another, probably another 100 skeins to go. A couple of you in North Carolina. Beautiful. Grayed out greenish turquoise. Yeah. I don't think I have anything like that to bring over here. I got a lot of yarn, but I don't think I have those colors. Oh, puppy paws. Yeah, that was a beautiful semi-solid. Um, Unfortunately, we had a lot of troubles with puppy paws. Towards the end, yarn is very dependent on a lot of different things, and you can take out as many different things about dyeing yarn as you possibly can and try and keep them consistent. But one of the things is water. So if you have minerals in your water, if you have runoff, like our water basically comes from the Rocky Mountains down into the to the river that goes by the town I live in. Basically, in the springtime, there's a lot more mineralization in the water itself, and it reacts differently with the dyes. So I can create a colorway in the middle of winter, and come springtime, it'll change on me. Which is why we like to rotate colorways in and out, unless, of course, they stay consistent. And we try and keep an eye on them to the best of our abilities. But Puppy Paws was one of those ones that started off as a semi-solids, and it ended up, it was almost like the dye separated. We started getting 2 or 3 different colors in there, and it looked more variegated than it did semi-solid. Um, I would have loved to keep Puppy Paws. It was a great match for a lot of different colorways, including this one, Sally, or not Sally, She Sells, She Shells, She Shells, She Shells. So yeah, Puppy Paws was a great colorway, but I had to let it go. Yeah, we do pH as well. We make sure our water is sitting between usually a 4 and a 5. Um, but it doesn't help when you're talking about iron in the water and stuff like that. I don't know exactly which mineral it is, or even if it is a mineral, but there's nothing else in our process that changes other than the water. So my assumption is it's the water that's causing me the issue, and it causes the dye to react differently. It's a surprise. Well, don't say it here. You're as good at keeping secrets as I am, obviously. All right, more seashells. This one is our worsted weight. How many skeins do we typically dye of one weight? Um, that's a tough question. Um, so a batch for us is 20 skeins. Um, so I would say we generally dye 20 skeins every time we're looking at a colorway. But if you're talking about a day, I don't know. We probably do like 300-400 fingering a day. Um, depends on the day. Depends on the demand, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, pH tester is definitely a good investment. I would not. I don't think I made tags for this. I didn't. Look at that. I'll have to come back to that one. All right, she sells in fingering. Nitty Stew. Yeah, actually, she's just a couple hours north of me. Well, maybe not right now. Obviously, she travels the world. But the Nitty Stew is basically she's from Calgary. I'm down in Lethbridge, so she's about an hour and a half to 2 hours away from me. Geology Rocks. That was a great colorway. Lots of I want to call it gemstone colors. That was a beautiful colorway. Absolutely. I would love to bring that one back. If you buy a colorway and you can't get enough, can I get more? Depends on where you're getting it from. If you're looking at our unlimited line, yes, you should be able to take and get more. If not, reach out to me and I will do my best to accommodate. I absolutely hate it when I can't help people, um, especially if they started a project. Like that's not very fair. So I generally go out of my way to, even if I have to, I'll die a batch to get you taken care of. Now the humanly smallest batch I can do is 5 skeins. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I will do my best to accommodate in any way if you run out. Yes, the long form videos, we did those pairings and the light boxes. I do want to get back into those sooner rather than later. I really do. No problems. No. Um, what goes into the decision to pull or retire a colorway? There are lots of different factors. So number one, it could be that I've run out of the dye, the specific dye that we use to color. For example, the pink in this is called shell pink. When I bought this, I bought about 5 pounds of it. Unfortunately, it's been couple years and we're now running out of shell pink. So I'm going to have to retire this colorway sooner rather than later because the pink I used is no longer available. So that is one factor. Another one might be sales have absolutely declined on a colorway. Everybody's, already picked up the colorway. They're no longer interested. So we'll end up pulling it off the shelves. We only have room for about 100 unlimited colorways, 30 to 40 limited colorways, and 20 to 30 semi-solid colorways. In the grand scheme of things, I think I have about 180-ish spots in the shelving behind me here for colorways. So in order for me to bring out something new, I have to let something old go. And I will generally look at the list and grab the oldest ones first and try and pull them. The average colorway will last about a year, give or take. Um, but yeah, again, normally if I had to die, I wouldn't retire this one. But we are going to have to let it go here in probably the next month. If I had the choice, I wouldn't pull any colorways. I would offer them all forever and ever and ever. I don't like discontinuing. It's not my favorite thing to do. But yeah, now you got me thinking about geology rocks. That was a great colorway. It really was. I think that one needs to come back sooner rather than later. I might bring that one back next week, actually. Urban is, I'm happy you caught us live. Absolutely. Welcome. Ice dyeing. I have seen ice dyeing. I've never actually done it. So, yeah, ice dyeing. That is, I honestly think ice dyeing is something that's going to take up a lot of space and a lot of time. Basically, what you're doing is you're putting yarn into a pot, you're adding ice on top of it, and then you're adding the dye on top of that. The way we're currently set up, I we basically move through the yarn pretty quick, and we're kind of limited on space. So I think honestly, ice dyeing is better left to some of the smaller indie dyers. I think they're going to have a better opportunity to do that and do it really well. Whereas I'm probably going to rush the process, and I don't think that's something that I don't think that's something I'm going to excel at. I absolutely love it. It looks great. I just don't think that I'm set up to do it well. And that's one thing I've said a few times is you gotta know your strengths, right? So the one thing I'm good at is the process that I use, and I have wandered outside of that process a couple times and come up with some beautiful colorways, but I just end up falling back into the this is how we dye yarn, and this is how I'm going to dye yarn because this is how I know to dye yarn well, if that makes sense. Am I expecting tariffs to affect prices on sales to the US? I'm I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but yes and no. I am okay. So first off and foremost, we currently ship with Canada Post, who hands off to USPS at the US border. We're in Canada, you're in the US, I'm assuming. Basically, USPS has come out and said that they are not set up to collect tariffs on the other side. So President Trump signed an executive order basically stating that the de minimis, which he had tried to eliminate, is not being eliminated yet. The de minimis is basically orders under $800 are not subject to duties, taxes, things of the sort. It's a small number for them to be able to try and collect. It's not a big ticket item like aluminum or steel. So basically, if your order is under $800, you're probably fine. He basically said until USPS is able to handle the tariffs and collect, that the de minimis would remain in effect. Now, I believe what he's trying to do is target China and Shein and Timu, but unfortunately, we get wrapped up in the same place because we are e-commerce, right? So we're shipping with basically the same guys they're shipping with. Um, and I don't know that 100%. I am just guessing on my end. My hope is that it is a very long and drawn out process, and we can continue shipping to the US under $800 with no tariffs. Or a new, it used to be NAFTA, it's now called the USMCA. A new free trade agreement can be reached, at which point our yarn was classified under, uh, I'm going to call it NAFTA. It's NAFTA to me. Basically, our yarn fell into NAFTA as free trades, and there was no tariffs or duties or taxes. So keep your orders under $800, and hopefully, for the time being, we can continue to be the best of friends. Um, or hopefully, they figure this out sooner rather than later, because I'm not happy about it. You're not happy about it. Yeah, good fun. Hello, Ohio. Tag colors. Can I tell you the difference? Yes and no. Basically, when I order tags, I order four different tags at a time. There's not necessarily a difference between the tags other than my own internal math. So right now, we're running this tag right here, but I can tell you in about 3 days' time, 2 days' time, maybe, we will be moving to a new tag. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything other than how long it's been on the shelf, sort of. So basically, this was a different tag. We were actually using that tag and this tag at the exact same time. There is a possibility you could get a piece of yarn with two different tags on it, but they were from the exact same batch. So the only time that I would say there's really a difference, it's not going to affect you in any way, shape, or form. But if I have a tag that I know is older, then I know that yarn's been sitting on the shelf for a long time, and it's time for me to either pull it off the shelf and give it away or discontinue it if I haven't already, or something along that line. So it was basically a way for me to internally know how old the yarn was that was sitting on the shelf. And that is the significance of the tag. But like I said, I order four different tags at a time. and there was a chance that you would get all 4 tags from a single batch of yarn because I wasn't separating them. In the future, we are going to start separating our tags and make sure that we use an entire tag before I start the next batch. Because there was some confusion out there. People were getting 2 different tags on the same colorway, and they would be like, "Oh, this is a different batch," but it wasn't. So that was my fault, and I'll take ownership of that. So no difference in the tags at all. That's just internal, completely. I I don't know if I've ever said it, but yes, I have many times. Green is my thing. I love the greens, even bright greens like avocado. I love all greens. Dark and moody greens definitely my go-to, but greens are beautiful. Beautiful Montana, awesome. Welcome. So obviously avocado, just a bright, beautiful green. Do I ever check Ravelry? Eyebrows. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm on there nearly enough. Not even close. I might head over to Ravelry every couple months just to check in. Same with Reddit. Every once in a while, I'll pop onto Reddit just to see if there's any activity there. I know there's conversations about our wool all the time. Some of them good, some of them bad. Um, One thing I've said this 100 times, and it's even listed on the website. If you have troubles with our yarn, reach out. I'm a pretty good and friendly guy. Like, just reach out and say, hey, I hate your yarn, and I'll make it right. That's what I'm here for, right? You can go on the internet and be angry and upset, and that's perfectly fine. But if you have troubles, reach out. That's what I'm here for. That's what customer support's all about. So, um, yeah. Anyways, so yeah, I search Ravelry, I search Reddit. I'm not on there nearly enough, but I definitely check it out. Do I ever do interviews? No. I've been asked to do a couple interviews, and I was too scared. Um, Not being in control of the camera and the editing was terrifying to me. I am working on getting over that because clearly I'm doing lives. But yeah, no, I've been asked to do some interviews. I've always declined. That that'll probably change in the future. If somebody was to ask, I would probably say yes. Um, but we're going to give it some time. Small groups. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of tough to be in small groups when you're in my position, but I like to think that yeah, we're all friends, right? It's the best way to look at it. Don't think too hard about it. Oh, I broke a tag. Sometimes these elastics let go. Not very often, but there we go. Getting close. I think I only got 1 or 2 colorways left. Yeah, this one goes good with this one right beside me, actually. Got watermelon crawl. Got those same kind of greens. Very very summerish to me, which is kind of where we're moving into here, right? So you got those pinks and those greens, beautiful combo. I read any good books lately? Um, none that aren't for a 4-year-old. So no, no, I'm sorry. Um, unless you're into colors and animals and shapes. Um, that's about the only reading I've been doing lately. Lots of bedtime books for my daughter. I if I have spare time, I'm honestly I'm a gamer. I really am. So if my kids are in bed and I've got a couple extra minutes, I'll pop onto the PS5. So that's my go-to. No, actually, all of my wool is merino. So basically, this base here, the base that we use, all four of our bases, I guess, the fingering, the DK, the worsted, and the chunky, are all specifically designed for arcane. We work with a mill who created this in collaboration with us, um, and basically, it's a merino wool. So yeah, definitely, definitely all me. What games do I play? Oh boy. Well, my son's really into Fortnite, so I do plug onto there every once in a while. I'm not very good. I get my butt beat by 8-year-olds constantly. It's a little depressing. I have recently got into Rust, which is I don't even know how to explain Rust. It's a game where you're very frustrated all the time, and it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, I play that one as well. All right, so looks like we've got filled with joy. This one's a bit of the inspiration photo for this was a bouquet, some blues and some yellows, really, really quite moody. Um, just a really nice dark midnight blue. Pairs up really well with our sun yellow, as well as our midnights. And I would say even electric blue will play into this one a little bit, but I would probably lean more towards midnight if I'm being honest. Jacquard? No. I've worked with some of their dye. It's absolutely stunning, especially if you're speckling with Jacquard. But it was they call it an internet special shell pink, which was Pro Chemical Dyes out of the U.S. It's discontinued. It's been gone for years already. So once it's gone, it's gone. Dial it. Me too. Not to age myself, but back in the day, I used to play a lot of Red Alert on the PC. So and StarCraft, lots of StarCraft. Yeah, yeah. Basically, Minecraft and Rust are it's the same. It's the same thing. It's the adult version of Minecraft. Um, it's a very frustrating game, and I absolutely love it. I haven't been into it for too long, so I haven't gotten that good at it. But yeah, it's basically Minecraft after dark. I agree. Getting close. Almost done. And then we'll move on to shipping. Time to get some of that squishy mail out. Oh, I missed that comment. The only bad thing I can say about your yarn is there's too many pretty colorways. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. This one here is filled with joy. So you've got this deep, dark, rich blue that kind of blends over into a yellow. Obviously, we got a little bit of kind of a hint of green. You mix blue and yellow, you're going to get some greens. So captivating cardinal. Yeah, that's a good one. Absolutely. Now I think I've had two inspired by apples. I've got how about them apples? It's still available. It's right there. I'm going to grab one. And the other one was called an apple a day. I think it was just an apple a day, but basically the saying is an apple a day keeps a doctor away. So that was the apple one there. How do I name my colorways? I don't know. Sometimes it just pops up in my head. Sometimes it's sayings I've heard, like "How about them apples?" I'm not sure if you guys saw a movie with a Matt Damon, but yeah, that's where that name came from, and it was just basically a picture of an apple, and then my head went to the movies, so that's where that name came from. As for the other colorways, I really like names that I can't. I think it was somebody else mentioned it's called a alliteration or something like that. I like sayings where it's like if the first word starts with a C, the second word starts with a C, like captivating cardinal, for example. And that's kind of the flow that I feel and the flow that I get when I'm trying to name colorways. Do my kids ever help pick colors? No, but they will come into the shop here and they'll pick colorways that they like. But they've never. They're pretty young. My 4-year-old daughter comes to work with me every once in a while, and she likes yarn. She'll pick out a bunch of pretty colorways, but she's into pink, right? So everything she touches is just pink. If she had the option, if I was going to dye colorways, it would be a shop full of nothing but pink. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I've changed my website more times than I can count. Um, I don't know why, but I'm like I can make it better, and it always ends up being the same. But yeah, lately I've kind of kicked over into the dark background, and I feel like it really just showcases the colors of the yarn better, makes them stand out a little bit more. So thank you so much for the comments on the website and the photography. That's Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've never really been a big fan of the yellows, but I understand where you're coming from. I again, I lean towards greens, so I was the same, but with green, everything was green. My daughter likes the blue or the pinks. My son he likes every color. I believe his favorite color for the majority of his childhood so far has been rainbow. That's his favorite color is rainbow. He likes all colors. What do we got left here? I got 2 colorways left. I got more filled with joy, and I think I got some dark gray left. This one here is in the DK weight. What comes first, the name or the colorway? The colorway. So I'll go out, I'll find a photo, we'll dye the yarn, make adjustments as we need to with the dye itself to make sure that the yarn comes out. And then once it dries, I'll put everything together, make sure that the yarn matches the photo itself, and if everything still works out, then I will start to give it a name. So yeah, it's not the name that comes first. It's usually the color, the yarn and the photo come first. White cardinals. I didn't know there was a white cardinal. I'm going to look into that. Sounds pretty. We definitely do our best with the photos on the website. Now there can be some discrepancies, obviously. I do my best to take all my photos in a light box at 5,000 degrees Kelvin, which is as close to daylight as we can possibly get it. Now, what that allows me to do is make some slight adjustments to the photos to make sure that, well, I'm holding yarn and I'm holding, my phone with the photos on it, making sure that what I'm seeing on the phone is a true representation of what's in my hand. But that doesn't take into account your computer screens or your phones or your tablets. So there can be some discrepancies there. And I know shopping online is hard, which is basically why I say if you ever have any troubles, you got to reach out to me. We'll do what we can to make it right. But yeah, we put a lot of effort into correcting those photos to make sure that the colors come through. The biggest problem I have is blues. Oddly enough, a light blue is incredibly hard to photograph. Phones have come so far with technology that they try to autocorrect, and it's hard because it's trying to make those light blues into a white, because if you got daylight, that's pushing you more into a blue, whereas if you got fluorescent lights or iridescent lights, that can push you, well, I think fluorescent actually goes blue, but iridescent lights push you more into an orange. There's a lot of editing that needs to be done. So basically, your phone's trying to do that for you with its processor, and it causes absolute chaos when you're trying to take true representations of colors. So unfortunately, a light blue is one of those ones that I struggle with a lot. Light pinks, a lot of the light colors, actually, if I'm going to be honest, a lot of the lighter ones are tough to take. Brown mustard. I've got like a rusty orange that you could kind of say is mustardish color. Yeah. So I've gone so far as to even go out and get a DLSR camera so that I could be more in control of everything that's going on with the photography. Even so far as to make sure that all of my photos are coming across in raw format, and then I would do the editing after. But I have found that it is more of a nightmare because there's more for me to adjust to try and make the colors true. So it's a lot easier for me to use my iPhone and take that photo and then adjust it after the fact and try and pull it together. And if it's still not working, I'll go take another photograph. And if it's still not working, I'll go outside and take a photograph. Like there's a lot to it, but yeah, the one thing I got to say is that's the one thing you need to get right. If you're shopping online, that's the only way you're going to get to see my yarn. You don't get to see it in your hands in the store. Um, you have to get those colors right. So try hard. Unfortunately, that's the only option is try hard. If there was a easier way to do it, I would, that's for sure. But I haven't found one yet. Last one. Dark gray. I knew there was more in there somewhere. I had the tags for it. Very organized, yes. So once upon a time, I had different shelves, but same concept. And we found holes, right? If there was a hole, I would throw yarn into it and call it a day. Um, it was chaotic, to say the least. So it was probably about 2 years ago, we decided that we were going to change it up and we were going to go with what I call the battleship method. Basically, all of our racks are named and labeled. We start with rack 1, and then I've got 2 shelves. So I've got a front and a back. So I've got 1A, 1B, I've got 2B, 3B, 4A, 4B, and actually, fun fact, if you look at our tags, oh, get that in front of the camera. You can see it starts with 5A. I think that's backwards. Oh, look at that. Anyways, so it starts with a 5A. That means it goes on shelf 5 in the front, A. And that allows us to knock it down to 15 different colorways and makes it a lot easier for me to find it. So organization is key to success. Absolutely. Although I enjoy the chaos. I really did. This just became too chaotic. All right. Well, here is the last one. I'm all done. So thank you all for coming by. Thank you for all the questions. My headphones? Yes, absolutely. It's the best way for me to be able to speak to you. I had like, I think they were called iPods or something like, not an iPod. Sorry. Earpods, maybe? I don't remember what they were called, but they basically tucked into your ear. I found them extremely uncomfortable. And so I like the headphones. It's a lot easier for me to talk to you guys through the headphones. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate you guys sticking around with me. You've made tagging yarn a lot more fun, and I'll probably do this again. Maybe we'll try it again next week. Until then, keep them fingers in the pots and yeah, mix up that yarn. I'll see you guys soon.